All right, guys, welcome back to Emotional Mastery. This is where we transform deep, difficult human experiences and suffering and pain, the craziness of life, into our greatest human potential. And we share emotional intelligence, leadership, healing, all in this space because the more we are at home with who we are, the more we thrive. Today we have here Rocio, which a beautiful person that I've met in I think Akhtar Badsha's Living with Purpose book launch. And I just remember when Rocio, when you spoke and introduced and shared a question, I was like, that's the woman I want to speak to. I think there's so much alignment that's there, and I want to introduce you to our audience right now. So Rocio is an international best-selling author, speaker, coach, creator of the MindShift experience, which we're going to talk about, the world's first comprehensive self-coaching system, which we're going to talk about as well, which is really amazing. And she helps leaders turn untapped potential into real measurable results that move them forward and create meaningful impact. And that is super super amazing. What really stood out with me is this whole self-coaching system. So Rosie, I would like to start you there. Like, what is this self-coaching system? Because when people think about coaching, it's usually about two people talking at one another.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to share time and space with you. And every conversation's been amazing. So thank you for that. And going in to answer your question, what is a self coaching system? I believe that we are the first and best coaches of ourselves, that we have the capacity to coach ourselves, and that with guidance, of course, there may be some times that we need some guidance from people, and we're with ourselves 100% of the time. So I remember back in 2011, I was going through a lot of turmoil. I had a brain tumor. I'm figuring out life. What am I doing? I got very deep into self development. And as I dove in, I realized that there was a lot of things that I intuitively knew, and there was a lot of things that I was doing to help coach other people along the way. And now I just simply had names for what I had already been doing. And so I felt like I needed to go through this major metamorphosis at that time in my life. And I continued with my journaling practice and tried these different modalities for myself, tapped into gratitude, tapped into reflection, tapped into my resilience, all of that. And then I got obsessed with it. I said, wow, this worked for me. I could see the changes, and so could other people see the changes for me. And and then I started using it with my clients. Let me go ahead and try these same modalities. And I said, okay, this is time for me to box it. And mind you, taking a step back in 2009, October 20th, the day after I had been diagnosed with that rare brain tumor, I committed my life. I said, you know what? I just simply want to help everyone. That's all I'm going to do. Mind you, I had a marketing company, I had an inventions company. I gave all of that up to be able to stay in my lane, which has been leadership development and helping people through that. Out of that was born the MindShift experience. How we shift our mind, we shift our thoughts. You shift one thing about our thoughts, you shift the trajectory of your life in many ways. So I created this beautiful board game called the MindShift Game. I created a journal, as writing is one of those important things that we must do in order to transcend. And there's that magic between hand and paper. And and then I tapped into the affirmations. What does it look like for people to really affirm? Because I went on YouTube and I went all over the place, and there was like hundreds of thousands of people doing affirmations out of nowhere. And I don't know about you. Sometimes when I hear something that's not true, it's like my ears screech. And I'm like, no. And so I became very, very intentional about providing things that do work, that will map somebody. I call it mapping, right? That will program ourselves into a positive way. So that's where it all began. And here we are, years after launching the game. It has been very exciting and an entire platform around that as well.
Wow, really powerful. I think one of these days I really would love to experience the game that you put up.
Yes.
And I was laughing just now when you said about the affirmations that you see online, and it shakes in your ear, but for me it's like cringing. Then,
It is.
and
It's
for
like,
me it's like, oh my
turn it
god,
off.
yeah. And this is like my issues with like new age spirituality. I mean, I'm grateful for it because it started off my journey, to self
Hmm.
discovery, to really begin what spirituality looks like beyond the context of religion. um and I think it got me started, but it actually opened up a whole new experience where there's more to explore. And I'm sure your own research and discovery obsession with it has eventually been integrated with your own life experience. And I think I do see that self-coaching thing came in because you experienced for yourself, tapping into your own innate intelligence that
Hmm.
already knows how to heal, transform, and change,
That's right.
and lead even, right? Which is really what I think the mind shift experience is all about. And like you say, it's just one thought, one mindset, and reflected again in your story where that brain tumor is like a wake up call. And then your mindset shift. Okay, I'm dropping all of this thing and I'm going towards this direction. And would you say that that requires a lot of courage? Because most people think it's just a shift of thoughts, right? Can you
Yeah,
unpack that a little bit more?
it
What's
it
beyond
is.
that?
First of all, the brain tumor was my greatest gift
Hmm.
because it allowed me to tap into who I came here to be in this world
Mm,
and who I came here to be for myself and for others. And yes, that journey was difficult. As a matter of fact, I was allergic to shrimp and I had allergies galore during that time. So I was working on myself in many different ways. I would set alarms. This is why, I'm putting all these things. I would set alarms on my phone. I'm like, okay, I need to, 10 times a day, focus, meditate, connect. And it took something. I believe that it takes what it takes for any one of us. As a matter of fact, we're about to launch our book, Identity Alchemy,
mm,
transforming pain into gold, into that and helping people understand that journey of self discovery, digging into us, what made me me. And in me, it was a lot of trauma. There was so much abuse prior to the brain tumor. I'm like, oh, my parents did the best they could with what they, no, no, no. Let's just take a step back. They did the worst they could with what they had, right? Because now, I was suicidal at 5. Let's just put it out there. I had a lot of difficulty throughout my life. I was this warrior that was warrioring through life because nobody taught me anything different. And, it was just like what I had to do to survive. In order for me to let go of that warrior, I had to tap into love.
mm,
I had no self love. I didn't know what it was to create from a place of peace. Like, come on, you tell me, hey, Rocio, go climb a mountain. I'm like, okay, without any tools, I'd be like, okay, I'll go climb the mountain. And now to come in from a place of calm and everything, it took something. It took what it took. And it took for me to heal and transcend those limiting beliefs, the patterns, the things that I heard about myself that weren't serving me. So that took what it took for me. And it was an amazing journey. I see it all the time with my clients as well.
beautiful. And I think this is where the intersection between the healing and leadership comes in. And
Hmm.
going back a few things, of a few insights that you mentioned, right? You had to do what you had to do, and it's not wrong. It's not right. And also not dismissing the fact that that we have brought up in the worst possible environment, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
and and they had to do what they had to do, you had to do what you had to do, and that inadvertently shaped your identity, and it was driving you, right? And it seems like pain was driving you. In its own intelligence, it drove you to purpose. And to me, that sounds like it's the beginning of a choice, right? And I'm wondering, like, because you were the warrior, right? How did this warrior found love? We have the awareness to make that shift.
Wow. Well, amazing. So, just like the things screech in my ears that are not true, so did it when I was hearing the comments like, you're unlovable, you're unworthy, or whatever I heard going along. It was like, no, there's the intuitive wisdom kept on telling me, you are lovable. This is not right.
Mm,
Right. So, intentionally, even as a child, I'm talking about a 5-year-old
yeah.
thinking of, I know what it is. So as I was warrioring through the world and figuring out like what do I do next, right? How do I shift into love? I had to release the trauma. Every time I released something, I made space for something new inside of me to say, okay, I could be calm. Like I had never sat down. I was 36 years old. Okay. I had never sat down at a Starbucks or anywhere to drink a cup of coffee or my favorite drink just to be. It was always for a reason. It was for a business meeting. It was for a rush. It was to connect with somebody else. It was always for something else. It wasn't for myself. So I had to start confronting my past. And boy, that was a journey. It was layers upon layers
Mhm.
of experience. And there was moments, I'll be very frank with you, there was moments where I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to know what happened. I didn't want to, I never even wanted to hear. I wish that I could have thrown it in the ocean inside of a black box to never be found again.
Mm,
And so as I released is when I was able to tap into more of me, my authenticity, my love, my connection, my empathy for me. Because I believe that we have empathy for others like I did. I had a lot of empathy and compassion and wanting to help others. But what about me?
hmm.
What about me? So that took its journey.
Yeah. And what was the turning point to go like, okay, I gotta take care of me and
Oof,
go for
oof.
trauma healing? What
Uh,
did it came to a point where enough is enough? And do you believe that we have to go through enough is enough to wake up to that fact?
I I believe so. See, it was June 16, 2011. Okay. Almost 3 years after being diagnosed. And I remember being actually a couple of years after being diagnosed. And I remember my clients called me. And I had just moved to San Diego. And they're like, Rocio, I need your energy. Help me out, coach me. And I'd hop on the phone and coach. And one day I said, what? And I remember watching one of my students who had like a ninth grade education. Okay. I helped her open a daycare.
Wow.
And now she was retired. Her capacity was 256 children. She had a couple of daycares. And I saw this picture on her Facebook where she was in a Corvette, a red Corvette. And I'm like, I was looking at the Corvette. I said, all these people have what I want. And it had nothing to do with the accolades, the degrees, the recognition. All I had all that. I was on billboards, magazines, newspapers, TV, whatnot. What I wanted was my mother's love.
Wow.
That was something that I would never get to have up until like I see glimpses of it now, lots of large glimpses of it now. It was during that journey that I discovered, I said, no, how about I turn coaching onto myself? Because I'm watching these people transform. And mind you, I didn't know that I was doing this transformation work to the degree that I now know. I was watching people reconcile their relationships. I was watching them grow in ways and release things. And I'm like, what about me? What about me? How about I turn that on to me? And that's when I really got engrossed into letting go of the warrior that I have to serve others and started to serve myself. I started doing that through meditation every day. I'd wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in front of a mirror doing my affirmations, movement, journaling, you name it. It became an obsession.
Mm,
That was the beginning of transforming me from the warrior that I was into the loving, compassionate person towards myself. Because I believe that I had a lot of love for everyone. I just didn't have it for me.
yeah. And I'm wondering, as a result of transforming yourself and loving yourself now, how did your leadership shift? And how did your coaching with your clients change? Have they responded in a different way? And what transformed?
I feel like to a certain degree, yes, there's been a lot of growth with my clients and they've been transforming. The more that I transformed, the more that I had access to tools to help them transform from where they have been. So that's been a beautiful piece. I think that as my journey has shifted, I shift, I release, I'm able to see things. People accept that they grow with me. And I believe as a leadership consultant that I must do the inner work myself in order to be able to help others. I can see when people are uncomfortable. I could see I have the sensory acuity that I created for myself, that I tapped into from a survival mode as a child. Now I intentionally use it as a tool.
Beautiful. Now, the reason why I asked is because I think the leadership paradigm is starting to shift, right? A lot of us are waking up to the fact that as leaders, we cannot go on the way we did previously.
That's right.
And it's not about the title, the accolade, the achievement, the glamorous look of what being a leader should look like. And in fact, I think leadership is not a glamorous position to be in, because
It's not.
there's a lot of
It's a
accountability
lot
and
of responsibility.
responsibility. Yeah. And not just to others, but to yourself. And it sounds like, being able to fill up your own cup with love and energy, and to really come home to who you truly are is really an act of service, because it's not selfish to care for yourself, right? In fact,
It's
it's the
interesting.
most form of service that we can be doing. And it sounds like you embody that.
Yes. Very, very unselfish. And I remember the first time, this was in the summer of 2020, and I was sick. I was so sick. And I was running 18-hour days. This is when I was building the MindShift experience and building so many things. And I'm like sick. And I remember telling one of my team members, and I was going through three people a day. Like I would work with one for 6 hours, the other one for four, the other one for six. That was my day in and day out. So like people were exhausted by the time they were through with me that in that work session. And I remember one day I told one of my team members, I'm like, I need self-care. Like I need to go take a nap. And oh boy, let me tell you, that took something for me to say that. I felt like unworthy. I felt like defeated. I felt wrong in many ways. Today, it's like, you know what? I do need self-care. I can meet with you next week. I can call you later on during the week or 2 weeks from now, as opposed to before. It's like, I've got to do it. I gave my word. Or I would raise my hand and be there. So understanding my own patterns has allowed me to step away from that. I'd say like even torturing myself because that's what it is, like robbing myself from my own humanity and tapping into love now.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I see this in a lot of people, especially leaders. They are this the pedestal or expectations that they have to know it all, do it all, say it all, and be it all. And in the end of the day, they are deprived from the care and love that they need to run the show. And we are also in an energy crisis, not from an external perspective, right? There's also an energy crisis
Hmm.
internally. I
That's right.
Many leaders are burning out and they don't know how to replenish. Now the thing is, the leadership now and the leadership 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it looks very different, because now we have
Yes,
AI, we have tech, things move faster. So 18 hours now and 18 hours 10, 20 years ago can look very, very different.
that
um,
is.
it's kind of crazy, but this is just my observation. We think that technology is going to ease us more off work, but it's insane that it's like kind of like a wicked problem. Where a wicked problem is that when you try to solve that problem, it becomes more problems to it, and it doesn't.
Hmm.
It's unsolvable. And
Hmm.
any solution and fixing to it, you create more of the problem. And the thing about
Right.
looking at AI or at technology as a savior, because leaders were working like burning out before this, right? Working 18 hours
Hmm.
a day,
Hmm.
like you. But today, leaders are still working 18 hours a day, with more tech, with more things, with more speed. So how do we reconcile, this thing based on your own expertise? Like, how do you actually help leaders to slow down enough for themselves at the same time perform at a high level to produce the results they need? I wonder where the healing and leadership intersection comes in for you.
I believe in trauma-informed leadership. I
Okay.
believe as a leader that we must, and in my case, I help people figure out, like, people to deal with their traumas on the spot. I have that capacity where I coach people on 500 Fortune 500 companies and say, okay, let's go ahead and take care of that. Why? Because sometimes we may be raising our hand, but it's not really us. It's our trauma raising our hands, right? We're now throwing something more, or it's our self-sabotage, or it's our imposter syndrome, or whatever it is that's raising our hand. But really being more intentional, we've got to step away from what we've been doing.
Mm,
Take that moment. I just shared that today with someone I was coaching. It's like, you've got to take 10 seconds for you. And I mean, 10 seconds, it might take you 3 weeks to get to those 10 seconds of quiet in your mind. I remember the day that everything was quiet. That was in 2021, that summer. All of a sudden, like, everything went quiet. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know how to deal with this, right? That is a place of grounding. That's a place of presence where I can create. And there's no need to raise my hand to do things, or there's no need to do things harder. I feel like trauma slows us down.
mm,
Okay. Whether we know it or not, trauma makes us look at things differently. Have you ever sat down and all of a sudden, like, you put your head up? And I remember my girlfriend coming home one day. She went out to work, and I'm like, honey, what are you doing home right now? She goes, I worked a 12-hour day. And I'm like, what? I was still sitting in the same spot that when she left. And it took her an hour to get to work and an hour to get back home. That's 14 hours,
mm,
right? Could have I done that sooner? Of course, if I would have transcended the trauma sooner. And there's been layer upon layer upon layer, and we all have it, whether if you're a human being, you have some level of something that holds you back from your capacity. If not, we would have already all been where we wanted to be instantly. And that's not something I've seen there. People, what you practice in private, right? You practice, you practice, you practice, and in time, in the perfect timing for you, then you let go of something. You can see something differently. I know
mm,
when I meditate, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I've been meditating. I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, I'm like, I have all the solutions for
mm.
something that would have taken me 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love what you say that. And trauma, it's not wrong even. Actually, it's a doorstep, it's a feedback
Hmm.
to show, like, where are you blocked and blind, like there are blind spots basically.
Hmm.
And in my work, I call it the emotional baggages. If you start carrying too many of it, you basically are trying to press the gas pedal and the brakes at the same time. Eventually the car is
Yeah,
going to wear out, the tire is going to wear out faster, the fuel in the car, no matter how much you put in it, won't go very far, right?
that's right. And
Yeah.
I feel like trauma is a gift when we take a look at the new neural pathways that we've created in order to transcend or survive the experiences that we've been in. And when we release that, when we start to use it intentional, when we start to say, like, fragmentation, compartmentalization was my thing. I remember years ago when I was going through that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I
Relatable.
went through this healing journey, and all of a sudden I'm like, I've been compartmentalizing my life. So I go home, I look at my computer, I had triplicates of duplicates. And then I chose intentionally to bring it together. And yes, those tools that were created by trauma serve me. Now I use them intentionally. It's not automatic because you're using the wrong tool in the wrong place. It doesn't work, right? And in some cases I was doing that. And now it's like, okay, take a step back. Is this the right tool to use right now? If I do need to compartmentalize and keep these projects separate, that's intentional, not automatic,
Mm,
not unseen to me.
mm.
Because I'd say 90% of what we do is unseen to ourselves. We think we're showing up in a particular way, and others are like, oh my gosh, did you see what she was doing? You see the eyes rolling or whatever's happening over, and nobody's saying anything.
Got it. Hey, what would you say, for business owners, leaders, people who are in that position to where they're constantly making high stake decisions and choices every time? Um, what would you say to help them find it valuable to actually slow down, work on their trauma, and shift their internal landscape because they're so much on the survival mode of like the money comes first, where I'm gonna make my next revenue, when's the next opportunity, when the sales and marketing, all this kind of stuff is gonna happen. When they're so focused on that, how would you transition or help them see, that this is as
That's
important too? Because I do see that people are so much on autopilot, or
yes.
and the spiritual part of me is like, oh yeah, everybody has your own timing, but at the same time, I feel responsible to be like, the timing is now.
The timing is now, right? I hear you. And what I'd say to that, that is in my book, Identity Alchemy, that we're about to launch. And that's the beautiful part. When somebody has trauma, like, first of all, most entrepreneurs have trauma. Okay, there's a lot of research about that. That's the reason why we're able to focus. There's a personality, there's an identity. And when we start to understand that, we can move through things faster. One of the things that I discovered is that when we have trauma, like myself, I had a lot more than most people that I've met, is that we must reconcile the past in order to be able to use the tools of the future to move faster through that. It's not just warrioring through it. It's not just the hours through it. It's not just the investment. You can throw time, energy, money, resources into things. And unless you take a step back, reconcile what was there, now those tools are available to you so that you can use them in your business. And things just all of a sudden time collapses, energy collapses. You're in a place of peace. I believe, and I do coaching for individuals and coach them literally 10 to 12 hours straight, okay, a day, in a day. And we do what I call my VIP coaching, like stay here, let's go ahead and coach, let's work through these things. And then I provide the support through integration. That's one of the things that I think it's so important is that I couldn't find integration when I delve into personal development. Like, okay, we saw you the next program. And I'm like, well, like I need help in using these tools. I don't even know how to use them.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's where I believe that we
yeah.
can benefit from that.
Powerful. Yeah, I think integration is one of the missing pieces in many coaching spaces and personal development, as you mentioned, right? And integration, for those of you who don't know what that is really about using the tools that you have learned in your life that it's applied, right? Because transformation to me isn't complete at the mental level, right? It's only complete when you're able to be it, do it, and live it, and in your day-to-day experience. So it's highly practical. In fact, when you actually embody and integrate, that's where the ROI is from a business
Hmm.
perspective. That's where the real return of investment is truly is. All right, Rocio, how can people find more about the book, the work that you do? There's obviously the LinkedIn space that that you and I connect. Is there any other
Hmm.
places where they can find you?
Definitely. They can find us at the mindshiftgame.com. They can find us on YouTube. We have the Mindshift Experience there on YouTube. We're on Expand ITV. We're on many different platforms. You can find us on Instagram. You could even call me. I'll give you my number, right? I invite you to call me. It's 303-587-8367. Give me a call. Say, hey, I saw you on the show
Yeah.
and I want to connect with you. Please do so.
Yeah, and if you're international, you get a +1 at the front.
Yes, the international.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
But tell
and
me, tell me where we connected, and that'll help me put context into the reason why we're speaking.
beautiful. And what are one of the first things for a person to get to know you and your work? Where would you lead them? Because there's so many resources that I think you have a lot. What's the first thing that they should see when it comes to inquiring what you do and how you serve them?
Most definitely go onto our website, the mindshift.game.com, and go into that. That's a great place to start. You'll hear my story in there as well and see if I'm the right person to connect with, right? Who knows? Maybe you're the right person or somebody else is the right person. Who knows, right? We'll figure that out as you go along. I think sometimes also taking that into consideration, if we're sometimes we're screeching against a person, that may be the
Trust that
person that we
gut
need to work
instinct.
with,
Yeah, trust
right?
that gut
Or that may
instinct.
be the
Yeah.
person that we're like, mistaken fear or distrust for transformation, right? Maybe that person's going to transform us in ways that we cannot even imagine. I remember my client called me one day and she's like, Rocio, I'm so stressed out. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, what? I said, that is the moment that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. Everything that you know is already exhausted. You've already exhausted that. You're tapping into another level, and that discomfort is because now you're at another level,
Yeah,
and
that's
now we get
next
to
level.
build from here.
Powerful, powerful. What is your hope for 2026?
Oh, to help people tap into their potential, to really see it. My hope for 2026 is as I'm launching a book for children. And it's more like a story time about the MindShift game and the MindShift experience so that children get it at a younger age. Why do we need to get it at 30, 40, 50? And in
Mm,
some cases, I have clients that are 80 years old, 90 years old, that they're just getting it. Why not get it in our formative years where it's going to make the greatest impact? I have children, I coach children the age 10 and up, and seeing them break through like popcorn literally in 1 or 2 sessions, it's
powerful,
amazing.
powerful. And Identity Alchemy, your book, is that the same book or is it a
Yes.
different book?
It's a different book that I'll be teaching from. It's a book, it's more of a stories to tell children, nighttime stories,
Uh,
so that they can read them and they could read them during the day and at all times. Definitely. Identity alchemy, turning pain into gold, is geared more for uh, adults so that they can tap into it. And of course, you may find teenagers at times tapping into that because they're
mm-hmm.
curious and they want to go ahead and do the work. The
Yeah,
sooner we do the work, the better off we'll be.
yeah. And when is that out?
That'll be out next week.
Oh wow! All right, that's
Yes, that'll
awesome.
be out next
Okay,
week.
all right.
Yes,
I
that's
think
my gift in 2026 to
powerful.
bring that
I'll
out.
be sure to put in the link for the book in the show notes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
One last final question for the leaders who are hustling, who are still in the journey, and still are kind of lost and confused, don't know what they do, what they're doing, and how they're actually going about in the world. What would you say to them?
Mm. Take a step back, invest in yourself, and lead yourself. Go on a journey to self discover, because a lot of the issues and problems that we continue to confront, because it's not just once, they could be avoided, right? Once we reconcile the past inside of us, we can continue to move forward in ways that we cannot even imagine. There's energy and magic that we can tap into. I believe that we came here to be someone, and that trauma and life experiences may have got in the way if we didn't know how to get through that. And now, once you overcome that, life is different.
Beautiful. The best investment is self-investment.
It is. I love the way that you put it. The best investment is the self investment.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing your golden nuggets, your wisdom, your insights, your stories with us. I've learned so much in this really short time. Thank you for gracing your presence with us. And this is Emotional Mastery, where we transform difficult human experience into our greatest potential. And Rocio, you have really embodied that. And thank you for offering yourself here.
Thank you so much for having me here. I
Beautiful.
appreciate that.